Gotcha. Okay. So over time, you guys build a friendship, right? What was it that really stood out to you where you were like, man, I actually like this guy? It's
I
because he
loved
was
him. He was
talking about the
amazing.
substance and like the
Yes.
okay.
First of all, he would speak his mind. So he could be in a room where everybody thought that the sky was blue. And if he thought it was green, he was going to argue it, like no matter what. You know, most people aren't like that. If somebody is the only person that thinks different from everybody else, they usually shut the fuck up. They're usually afraid, like, oh my God, I don't agree with anybody. And they don't say anything. That wasn't him. He would always speak up, especially if it was about something he really felt strongly about or believed in. He would really argue with you until you just gave up. And I really admired that. He had an amazing sense of humor. He was a funny motherfucker. So he kept me laughing. I loved how he really loved life. Like he was different after prison. He wasn't that loud, raucous, conceited douchebag that I saw. And maybe because I knew him better. Maybe that, you know, maybe
You
that.
met him in person? You met him in
Say it again.
person? You met him in person by this time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Many times. He was just different. To me, he was different. He was very intelligent. He understood the value of ownership of masters. He understood the value and ownership of publishing. He had done a deal where he wasn't really making money and he wanted to. He signed to Suge because he needed the protection, or he thought that he did. I did not agree. I did not agree with him signing to Death Row.
Do you remember when he told you he was signing to Death Row, or you
Yes.
found out? You found out like we all did.
No, he told me ahead of time because I was writing back and forth with him while he was at Dannemora, telling him what to ask for in the contract. Because remember, I had negotiated deals at this point in time. I just couldn't negotiate his deal because I didn't think he should sign to Death Row. But I understood why he was doing it. Even though I don't agree with it, I understood why. He felt like Suge was the only person that could control or outrank New York label heads coming together to silence him. And he felt like they were. He felt like there was a cabal of Russell, Andre, Puffy, and Jimmy Henchman coming together to like annihilate him, like remove him from the music industry.
He needed another superpower, basically, he felt.
Yes, he needed security. He needed somebody powerful, and Suge was it. Suge was absolutely it.
Do you know the particulars about his record deal? Because he was signed to Interscope at the time, right?
Yes.
Before he went with Suge, and obviously
Correct.
Death Row was distributed by Interscope. So how did that situation work out? Because a lot of times people say, oh, Suge really didn't post a 1 million bail. It was Jimmy Iovine and them, but they didn't want to receive credit because it was too bad, the perception of them bailing out someone that is accused of and all this stuff.
That could be true. I'm gonna save the answer to this question for my book. I'm gonna talk about this, and I'm gonna talk about Cash Money in the book that I'm writing. So I don't want to talk about it here, but I will say that he got the most fair deal possible from Suge based on the fact that he wanted to sign to Death Row Records, and that was his only choice. In his mind, that was his only choice. So he did the best that he could. It was a handwritten agreement between Suge and David Kenner. They flew to Dannemora, but I gave him notes, like I gave him things that he should ask for to see if he could get them or not.
Can you talk about the last conversation you had with Tupac before he passed?
I don't remember what the last conversation I had with him, because at that point we were talking regularly. I was writing the business plan, and he had delivered his last project to Death Row at that point in time. So
in the past, you said that it was him on the phone, and he was very unhappy with Death Row and he wanted to leave. Basically, that it was a very passionate call.
Yeah, but that wasn't that wasn't just one call. That wasn't like the last call.
Oh, got you. Okay.
There. He had stopped wearing the death row chain months earlier and started wearing a pendant that had an angel with rubies in it.
That's not the one in Vegas that he died with, right? Is that the one?
I think it is. Yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
I'm not
circular pendant.
It's circular. Yeah, that's it. So he had stopped wearing the death row logo like 2, maybe 3 months prior. And that's when I noticed it. He didn't tell me he was unhappy. I noticed the chain was gone. And I asked him if it got snatched, because if it did, we could find somebody to go get it back for him. And he's like, no, it's at home. I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, I'm about to deliver the last album. I want to start my own company, and it's euthanasia, and I want you involved, and here's what we're going to do. And I want to set up community centers in every major hood around the country. And I want to do this and I want to do that. I want to have daycare inside of the office where we're based. I mean, he had some really foresightful stuff coming. His plan was, he felt like he divided hip hop like East and West Coast, and he wanted to bring everybody back together. And the album was going to be called One Nation. And he had already recorded some songs. I think he recorded with BDI from Black Moon. Right. I think they did a song together.
Boot Camp Click. He had like a bunch of people.
I can't quite remember. It's somewhat. This is so
Greg
long.
Nice. He had like a whole bunch of people.
He had already started recording, and I was putting the plan together and shopping his deal, and I was actively talking to labels. So much so that Panda, when he was killed, I wondered if he was killed because of the conversations I was having. Like I was worried about that.
So he was really unhappy with Death Row because of the things that everyone assumed, like he wasn't getting paid as much as he thought he was going to, or like things along those lines.
Yes.
And the drama surrounding the label, like he didn't want to be around that anymore.
Yeah, it was intense. Like him being part of Death Row, it was getting out of hand. It was getting harder and harder for him to accept. And he loved Suge. I don't want to imply that he had any ill feelings towards Suge at all, but his contract, he felt his contract was up because he was about to deliver the third album. It doesn't work that way. You can't just, when you have a 3-album deal, you can't just give somebody 3 albums and say, okay, bye, call me when it's done. It doesn't work that way. There's timelines in that. And he knew that because I educated him about that. Like the way the contract's written, he has to deliver, and then they have 9 months in order to work his project. And he's got to be part of it for that period of time. So there's an actual time deadline before he can leave, as well as a delivery deadline, which was 3 albums in his case.
So there's a lot of speculation and conflicting information over the years, right? Like you have his group, The Outlaws. Sure. They said Tupac was not going to leave Death Row. Machiavelli Records, or whatever he was going to name the label, was going to be distributed by Death Row. Like, and then Tupac, possible. I'm sorry. Then Tupac was going to be focused on Death Row East. Like there was a lot of talk.
Yeah, he would have never been focused on Death Row East because he didn't want anything to do with the East Coast at that point. So I've actually never heard somebody say that. I know Eric B was in charge of Death Row East, but I never heard that Tupac was going to be. But yeah, there was speculation that Suge would distribute Euthanasia. Yeah, I'm not going to say that wouldn't have happened.
But he just didn't want that to be like his home base and surrounded, like controlling everything anymore, basically.
I can't say that, but I can tell you that when you have the ability to go to a major label directly, there's no upside to going through a middleman at that same label. Like he could have gone to Interscope directly. He didn't have to go through Death Row. And Suge made a lot of money with Tupac. Like, they both made money together. I can't imagine Suge would have kept him and not wanted him to go off and make money on his own.
You know, you've seen the All Eyes on Me biopic, right?
I don't remember if I did or not. I don't watch a lot of Tupac stuff.
Okay.
Because a lot of it's just not accurate.
It's not factual.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a scene there of him and Suge, and Tupac is saying, okay, I delivered my 3 albums, you know what I mean? I'm ready to go. And then Suge brings out this ledger and says, yeah, you put in your time and stuff, like you met that commitment, but what are we going to do about all this money that you haven't recouped yet? Do you believe that was real?
It may have been. I don't know. I wasn't there, but I do know that very few artists ever recoup. And I'll say this, if there was another deal in the works and Suge needed money from Tupac, I'm sure Tupac would have given him money. I'm sure he would have, because he saw Suge as the person that saved his life when he needed it the most. Nobody else stepped up to help him.
So there was no beef between him and Suge. He really did look at him as a big brother and everything.
Yeah, not that I know of. He was not happy. I don't want to imply that everything was, roses, but what artist is happy with their label? I don't know any.
Right. So you're actively shopping the deal for him and everything, and then the situation happens with him getting shot in Vegas. What is your immediate reaction when you see that he was shot?
I didn't think he would die because I thought he was indestructible. In fact, I overnighted a funny get well card to him to the hospital. I never flew out there because I thought he was going to live. I thought he was fine. I didn't think he was fine. I knew he got shot, but he had been shot before. He got shot, other times. He survived a lot. And when he died, it was just very hard for me to believe. And by the way, he is dead. I'm not a conspiracy theorist that thinks, oh, Machiavelli, he's living in Cuba. If he was, he would have called me by now and we would have laughed like idiots. Like, man, you got over. Good for you.
Right. So he's in the ICU for nearly 6 days and dies on the 7th, basically. And what is your reaction when they finally announced that he's dead?
Devastation, sadness, because it didn't cross my mind that he would die. I just didn't expect it.
That's when you got drunker than you ever have in your life, basically, right?
Dead in Miami. Yeah, I was in Miami at How Can I Be Down? It was maybe 2 weeks after he died, 3 weeks after. And I was going to get a tattoo. I was going to get his face. I had designed it myself. That's that art school thing. I had designed it myself, and I was considering on whether to get it on the back of my leg. And I to this day, I don't have any tattoos, or on my back. And I went into the tattoo parlor. I didn't know that you weren't supposed to get drunk. I thought that would help with the pain. And I wasn't somebody who drank a lot, so I didn't really know what I was doing with the alcohol thing, right? And I drank way too much. And the guy in front of me that was getting a tattoo while I was waiting was screaming in pain. And he probably wasn't. I was drunk, and my perception was, oh my God, he's screaming in pain. And I left out of the tattoo parlor and was staggering down the street. And Mario Henchman actually saw me, Jimmy Henchman's older brother. And he took me back to my hotel room and he made sure I was fine.
Wow.
And thank God for him, because I don't remember much after that.
That's crazy.
And woke up with a wicked hangover. It was Tanqueray that I was drinking, gin.
It's kind of funny that you were drinking that, because Tupac talks about that a lot in his music, drinking on the Tanqueray.
Yeah, Tanqueray was very popular back then.
Right.
Gin and juice. Tanqueray was very popular back then. They double filter it, so it's a little bit smoother of an alcohol. I've never been much of a drinker. I don't think I've been that drunk since that night, to be honest with you. I'm not much of a drinker, so for me to drink that much was insanity.
Yeah.
especially staggering around fucking Miami Beach
By yourself?
by myself.
That's insane. Wow.
Yeah, and Mario saw me. Mario drove by and saw me and said, "Okay, something's not right with her." And he pulled over and he came and got me, and I wouldn't get in the car with him. So he actually walked me back. I was staying at the Raleigh Hotel, which was on 17th Street. He walked me to the hotel. He took me upstairs to my room. He made sure I got in bed and that I was fine. And he stayed there with me for a while just to make sure that I was okay.
So you thought that at that time that Death Row did have him killed for a split second or for a
Yeah,
short
for a
amount of
while I
time?
did. Yeah.
What exactly led you to think that?
I was because I didn't know what the truth was, and I was worried that Suge found out that I was shopping a deal for him, and that it pissed him off. That was my primary concern, was that I had done something wrong. I didn't, but I was worried that I did.
So Tupac being this icon, larger than life, super famous and successful, right? They say that he died broke. He didn't really have money like that. I think they said that he had like 30,000 in the bank or something.
I don't know. I can't speak on that. I didn't really I didn't care about money back then. He never shared with me what his financial situation was. And I knew that he would be getting an advance from the New Deal. So I wasn't really all up in his business like that.
So you don't know if like they said that like his house and his cars was in Death Row's name?
I don't know.
You don't
I
know.
can't
Okay.
speak. Yeah, I really don't know.
What about Suge being his manager? Wasn't that an actual thing though?
That I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if Suge or what was his wife's name? Was it Sharonda? It wouldn't surprise me if somebody at the label was his manager as well as the label, because that was just a very popular thing to do in the 90s. It was double dipping, and
Right.
it
So
wasn't the
it's
right
not
thing.
okay. It's not legal, right?
It's legal. It's just not ethical.
Oh, okay.
It's
Got
not
you.
illegal to have your label be your manager. It's just not good business.
Right. It's a conflict
It's
of
a
interest.
conflict of interest.
Right.
And I got to tell you, the music industry is full of conflicts of interest. Like if you look at Cash Money, they were the label and they managed their artists. And that was in the late 90s,
Wow.
early 2000s, mid 2000s.
Do you know if Tupac felt a way towards his previous managers like Atrin Gregory and Lila Steinberg or anything like that? No.
Can't speak on that.
But you know that Mutulu Shakur, his stepfather, was his business partner, and things didn't work
His,
out.
his business manager, he wasn't a partner. He was a businessman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And
that he controlled his finances. I don't know if Matulu still controlled his finances when he came home from prison, but I know that he did before he went to prison. When he went to prison, he was broke. That I know.
Okay.
That he did share with me, but I don't know what was going on when he was at death row.
You know, Tupac went through a lot of turmoil in his life, and some of it was self inflicted, like you've said too, right? When you reflect on things, what do you think was his biggest issue? Because when I was younger, I couldn't really put it together with like the correct lens, right? Like, as I
Yeah,
grew older, I realized, like, with my background in psychology, he suffered from a lot of unhealed trauma and he kind of lashed out on the world. And probably some of it was PTSD, you know, from
definitely.
the situations that he's been in. But did you guys ever have any deep conversations about things like
No.
that?
Oh God, no. Remember back then I had happy, sad, and angry. I wasn't emotionally intelligent at all. I'm my style with everybody, whether friendship, romantically, whatever. And I was never romantic with Pop, but I was avoidant, completely avoidant, you know, and he was as well. So he seemed absolutely normal to me. It wasn't until I went to therapy and realized, oh shit, I'm a mix of avoidant and anxious. You know, I wasn't emotionally intelligent enough back then to psychoanalyze myself, let alone him.
Right. People felt like he was playing that role from Juice.
I don't see that. I don't believe that he was. I saw a different
And
side of him though. You know what I mean? Like I saw the
right,
business side. I didn't see the party boy. I didn't see the, like, you know how everybody says he stayed in the studio and just kept recording and recording. I knew he was recording a lot, but I never saw that side of him because when I was talking to him, he wasn't in the studio. I'm not saying he wasn't. I'm not
right,
debating that. I'm just saying I saw the side of him that he showed me, that he wanted me to see. And everybody got to see the side of everybody they want to show them, right?
right. Did you have a relationship with his mom at all?
None, not at all.
No. Okay.
None. I didn't want one.
Is there a reason for that?
No
No.
reason to.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
I
because I
was
didn't
not,
know if you helped her with the lawsuit against Suge, and
no,
after he had
no,
passed.
no, nope. He wanted to create a scholarship. One of the things that he wanted to do with euthanasia was create a scholarship for young people that wanted to study the arts, whether it was acting or music. So when he passed away, I wanted to set up a scholarship fund, and she sent me a cease and desist letter. And
Really?
yes, and I showed, her attorney was Richard Fishbein at the time, and I sent a letter back to Richard Fishbein, a copy where Pac had put it in writing to me that that's what he wanted to do. And they sent me back another letter that said, if you continue on this path, we will sue you into next year. So I backed off, and I never had anything to do with her after that. There was just no reason to. I'm not going to fight the mother over her dead son.
Right. But that's just so disappointing, though. That's unfortunate. That's very
It is.
unfortunate. Yeah.
It was in his own words that he wanted it, and she never did it.
Wow.
She set up a community center that was unsuccessful instead.
Right. That was in Georgia too, right? Yeah.